Hello, everybody. I have muted this as usual. There you go. I'm muted now. Well, I'm not muted. Oh, Peter can't hear you.
There we go.
Oh,
I've got
okay.
too many places that I have to unmute stuff. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello.
Okay. So
Peter's not muted anymore, Matt. Don't worry. I found the button. It's too many. It's too many fucking audio options. I've got the mute on the microphone, the mute on the bloody. Oh, it's just a pain in the ass.
it's got a mute. Oh, Peter's muted. Amazing.
Not anymore. Not anymore. Who have we got in the house tonight then? Well, we had very early doors. We had Rosa and Matt were already online. Matt obviously bringing us up to, I think we had about 4 people watching, and Matt was like 3 of those. him into the glory Howand Loz.
It's glorious.
It's glorious.
Yeah.
So Rosa and Matt and Loz, Youngjin, Craig Sargent, Matt Collins, Youngjin, Rosa, Mega Loz, Jonathan Grant. Hello, Jonathan. Who else have we got in here? We've got Mr. Morph, Malachi, Philip Lancashire, Jonathan Grant. Hello, everyone. Hello, everybody. Hello.
You're tying with one of my favourite people of the week, Philip, for your comments on certain Facebook channel posts. I won't say any more than that.
What could you possibly have meant by that? I couldn't. I also need to find out who. Is it Chester Copper Pot? I need to find.
Chester Copper Pot.
I need to find Chester Copper Pot. I'm Oliver Borden. Oliver's just joined us. Hello, everybody. Wolfman Gaz. How's your week been, Robin?
Busy. Yeah, I can't. I thought life would get quieter as the children have gone back to school, but that's not true because all their clubs, not all of them, but some of their clubs are starting up. And my son had a football match at the weekend that was unfeasibly long or far away, and it's really hot in the UK at least.
It's suddenly turned unseasonably hot, hasn't it?
Unseasonably hot, and it just. Whoa.
By hot, we mean like mid-20s.
Well,
that's.
So I kind of, I was on my autumn hibernation trail now, so I'm not used to going back up to 20. It's 29 degrees today.
Yeah, I'm wearing shorts. It's ridiculous.
I'm in shorts. Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, look at that. Shorts. It is high 20s. It's just ridiculous weather. Stupid. It's just stupid is what it is. I've gone through 3 different pairs of lower half clothing because I started off in joggers this morning, and then I went to jeans because I had to take my youngest to school and I had to look a bit more presentable, so I always put my jeans on, and then I put some shorts on around lunchtime because it was getting so hot. But there we go.
Surely where you live, just not going in your dressing gown counts as presentable.
Well, if you ask some people, yes. There's the 2 main groups of people, which is either going in your dressing gown and a long coat is fine, or obviously going as if you're dressed to just go into the gym is the other option for a lot of people.
I don't mind that option in some cases.
But yeah, depending on what you're looking at, I guess.
Yeah.
MacLeod is saying, "It's getting hard in here. I'm keeping on my clothes."
Yes, please do. Matt wants to know what I'm drinking. It's Sainsbury's Higher Juice Summer Fruit. It's pretty good stuff.
Nothing alcoholic here. Squat for me.
I did actually have a beer the other day, everybody. You'd be fairly surprised.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Is that the other Thursday when I came over to play and you were getting all handsy?
That was what it was, yeah. Yeah. Beer actually goes out of date in this house. I had a beer that we went out of date in 2018.
I remember years ago, and this is nothing to do with the channel, nothing what we're talking about tonight, but I remember years ago, back when booze cruises used to be a thing, going to France and buying the crates of beer. I went and did that one year with my brother-in-law and his cousin. And about like 10 years later, when we were clearing out the house to move, I found like just crates of the old French stubby bottle style beers. Like they have gone way out of date. Why did I buy these? I don't drink beer. Why am I buying it?
I'd have just come home with croissant.
Well, there was that as well.
Just like a boot full of croissant.
One year we took my mum and she bought cheddar.
Brilliant.
Cheddar brilliant. Of all things. I don't like that soft cheese. Don't know if it's right or not.
You don't mean the dog from Brooklyn Nine-Nine either, do you?
I do not mean the dog. If she had, that would have been awesome. Yes, I have a sip.
The original cheddar's died, I think.
No, anyway, shut your mouth.
We're definitely digressing. So what are we talking about tonight, Pete?
Tonight we're talking about season 4 coming in, season 2 going away. What that might mean. What we're sad to see go. What we're excited to see get the fuck out at last.
It was nice on the beach this morning. Sorry, I thought you lived in Nottingham. In Nottingham, there's no beach around there.
He was on
Anyway,
holiday.
sorry.
Was he on holiday? Is that before he came home from being on holiday?
Oh, was he on holiday?
He
Or
was.
okay, I hadn't realised he was on holiday. Well, that'd be why then.
So I thought for the aid of anybody who's watching this after the live showing, hello, why didn't you turn up on the live showing? But apart from that, I thought we'd quickly run through what's going to happen with the cards, because some people, I've seen a lot of questions of people saying, what happens with the cards? Which cards do I get? Which cards can I use and which can't I use? So I think we touch on that quickly, and then we can just jump into cards we're going to be sad to see go, and everybody can let us know in the chat what they're sad to see go, what they're not sure how they're going to replace, that kind of thing, and then how we think it's going to look like in the new world of Season 4.
Probably sort of boards with hexagons on, I imagine.
With oh, thank you very much. With Durgasm.
Durgasm. Sorry. Rosa did indeed go on holiday. This just in. Rosa did go on holiday.
There we are.
And he's got a flying car. Oh no, a frying car. Sorry, I think he did a flying car.
That would be impressive. So, Season 2 going out and Season 4 coming in. What does that mean and what's going to happen? So, anybody who didn't know and is just catching up on all this stuff now, Season 4, which is called Durgasm, or Diachasm as they decide to call it, it's going to land in December. And when that lands in December, Season 2, which is called Nightvault, will all get rotated out, as they call it. Now, we don't know 100% sure that's going to happen, but we're pretty certain, aren't we?
Yes, sorry, I'm reading the comments and wasn't listening.
That's right, you read the comments, I'll talk, and then you can butt in whenever you like.
Sorry.
So Nightvault's going to roll out, and what that means when Durgasm rolls in is that all of the Nightvault Universal cards will be no good in any kind of tournament play, any competitive play, but you can still use them when you're playing your mates and stuff like that if you fancy.
Yes.
You'll be able to use the warbands, you'll be able to use the warband cards, and if you're not sure which cards are Nightvault cards, one you can sort of tell by the artwork. Also, there's a little symbol in the right-hand corner of the card itself. But also, you can use one of these fancy schmancy websites like Underworld's DB, which is aces, and you can filter them on there, so you can pick which sort of decks you want to see the cards from. And
now Wolfman's asked a question: don't some of the boards go too? I don't think that is for definite. If you see what I mean, they did cancel a board last time. They cancelled the extra one you could buy. I can't remember what it was called. The one with it had 3 lethal hexes, but I don't know whether they will do it again. I actually wonder a little bit whether they rotated that one out because it had those 3 lethal hexes, and because lethal hexes are going to be, you could place your own lethal hex in the game. I don't know whether that's why they rotate it out, but I don't know.
This one here.
Yeah.
Now, looking at it, because you couldn't put a lethal hex next to. I mean, you would have still had some spaces around the edges to put the lethal.
Well, they had to errata the original the rule about not being able to put them next to lethal hexes, didn't they?
True, and they got rid of that board before they did that. See, I like this board because the other side had like the 2 blocked hexes and the 2 lethal hexes, and it was like the forge thing, which I quite like that, but they got rid of it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they are going to rotate out, because I mean, my first thought when they rotated the board out is, well, I'm never going to buy a board pack again, because they're just going to rotate them out. But they then have sneakily combined it with some cards this time, haven't they?
Yeah, a whole game.
So you kind of think, well, okay, I'm going to end up with that board. But I don't know. They've been reluctant to rotate anything out from the core boxes, so I'd be surprised if those boards were rotated out.
That's true, but then somebody pointed out that the boards from Season 1 didn't get rotated out because they got released separately. So whether that's got anything to do with it or not is another thing. But yeah.
Okay.
But we will have to wait and see on the boards. But for the cards is relatively simple. Boards will last the same time as Universal cards, so why not invest, says Philip Lancashire. Yeah, Robin, huh? Yeah.
What was that, sorry? What
Lancashire says that boards will last the same amount of time as Universal cards, so why not invest?
Because I think there's a great big difference between having an extra board than, say, calculated risk or fired up.
I think for people like us, anyway, who are going to play fairly casually. We're not going to miss a board here or there, but your more skilled players might think that they have to have a certain board for a certain play style.
That is true. And I mean, I don't, as I've said a number of times, I don't really pay much attention to the board placement. It's just not part of it. I haven't got time to think about it, and I feel that for me, it doesn't make much difference. There are obviously some boards that are better than others in certain situations, but I can't imagine that I would ever miss one board. I mean, it's quite funny. The only one I would miss would be the one that the very first board, the Mirrorwell. That's my go-to board.
You might lose that soon.
Well, I might. Yeah, I might. I still. I don't know. I could be wrong. I still think I'd be surprised if they rotated out the core set boards, but I might be wrong.
I guess we'll say. I mean, several people in the chat are saying that they reckon they will go, so that's the one we're not sure on. And when GW released their rotation thing before, they never touched on boards in that article. They were only talking about cards, as far as I can remember.
Yeah.
I don't think they were mentioned boards, so boards is a bit more of a question mark.
And the thing with boards is they can't make a board that is significantly better than all the others. Otherwise, everybody would just take that one for at least one go in a game, if you see what I mean.
But then that's what happened with the Molten Shard Pit. Anybody who was offsetting diagonally always took the Molten Shard Pit. So in some ways it'll be good because that'll go.
Yeah. Well, I think that might go. Yeah. But the Molten Shard Pit is the only choice. But we obviously, for entertainment purposes, we very, very rarely offset.
Because we're playing more for the fun rather than trying to win.
And I used to find whenever I played it, I just end up with all my men in the bloody Molten Shard Pit, and they all died. So
I think there was a game where I played Garrix and you played Hrothgorn. I managed to kill Hrothgorn by knocking him through it and then distracting him back into it or something like that.
So I'm not a big fan of it, to be honest.
I mean, I'll be a little annoyed if they rotate them out because I like the boards and I've still got this. I don't know why I've got it. Why have I got this board? I'm never going to use it again, but I've got the board.
I've got it too. Completeness, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a bit, and that's why I still got all the Shade Spy cards and the night and stuff like that. And I just need to go and bonfire the whole lot. I think someone did point out in the comments that if you're casual, would you bother getting rid of the cards or the boards? And to be honest, depending on how casual you are and who you play with, there's nothing saying you have to. These are only for competitive play. So
frame it and make it a prize. Yeah, we could sign it.
Who wants a board that's been scribbled on by two prats stuck in a frame? We'll have to do that. So yeah, they might rotate out the boards. The cards are definitely rotated out, but this is all only from a competitive point of view. However, anybody new to the game, it's worth pointing out lots of people generally play with the latest set of competitive rules, as it were, because it helps keep the game sort of a bit fairer.
Yeah. Michael, another answer to Michael's question about if we were playing casually, will we ever rotate the boards out? If we don't, you can guarantee the first comment we have on the video will be, you're not allowed to use that board.
Every time, 100%. I mean, we've released games where a file list has come out the day before, and obviously we record and release our games on YouTube about 2 weeks in advance, and we've had people say, yay, yeah, we'll always get that thumbs down. So we've had people commenting like within seconds of a new bat rep going up when the file list has come out the day before, going, you can't use that card, it's restricted now, or whatever, and you're like, yeah, okay, but we did this like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So I don't know about board. I mean, I'll be sorry to see them go. I just think it's unnecessary. It's not like where there's so many boards you can't possibly decide what to use, or there's too much to keep track of all the interactions. The interactions on them are basically the same, unless they do one really good one like Molten Shard Pit or something. But obviously with the card volume, they need to be rotated out. And I think the meta changes, and as we said in our competitive live chat, I think one of the competitive elements of the game is the people who are really good at the game breaking it with the card interactions. So they need to rotate out the card interactions, because basically over the 2 years that they're out, people like Michael Carlin and people like that have wrung every available advantage out of them possible. So it's good to rotate them out. But I don't feel like that's the case with boards.
Yeah, I kind of feel a bit like that. But at the end of the day, if they get rid of them, I'll be sad to see them go. Especially whatever it's called, that one that we always take, the
Mirrorwell.
The Mirrorwell, that nice standard.
I probably ought to sign that and send it off to somebody because
There's
that's like my favourite board.
That is my go-to board in
That
Underdogs.
actually would be a proper Agents of Sigmar memento.
That would. Something that we've used about 1,000,000 times.
Yeah.
As Megaloza says as well, it's just for fun, calm yo tits.
It's Megaloz, it's not just for fun.
This is serious shit, Megaloz. This is a game. It's not for kids. It's not for children. This is a real game for men.
Prize for our AOS tournament. You mean the Super Masters AOS Invitational? Everybody's invited.
Everyone's invited. So yeah, that's a good point. Philip Langston says we could do a prize for our AOS tournament. There you go.
Yeah.
Genuine crap that we found in Robin's garage.
Signed. Make posters out of it. I like it.
It's not a bad idea, although you'll only be able to blow it up to a certain size before it gets a bit over the top. But yeah, there you go. So there you go. All those cards can rotate out.
Table mats. We need to do table mats actually. Get table mats made.
Well, you could if you could scan them all, and then you could fit them all together on one big scan, and make like one big. Yeah, that'd be quite cool. That'd be funky. Or you could just
start using the boards as table mats.
You could just use these. Yeah, if they get rid of the other two, you'll have 3.
Is that a lethal hex? No, it's a baked bean.
So there we go. Season 2, all Nightvault Universal cards will rotate out. So will all the cards in the I can't remember what that pack was called. Powers Unbound, Powers Rapidly Bound, as we all found out. And that will all go as well. But any warband specific cards you will be able to keep, and you will be able to use the warband still.
Yeah, there are a few decent. I think there are at least 2 decent faction specific cards in those boxes. But I'm not sure I'll be sad to see the Power Unbound cards go. I mean, we're already playing the Beastgrave meta, but we have found it challenging. There are definitely cards we miss.
But I've quite enjoyed it in some ways because you don't get, and anybody who's watching, comment in the chat if you've been doing a Beastgrave meta challenge, if you've just been sticking to Beastgrave. I've personally found it quite refreshing to, I mean, bloody frustrating when I've started building the decks or when I'm near the end and I just need like 1 or 2 cards to finish it off. But I found it quite nice to suddenly not have all those old cards in there where you just automatically take what armor and stuff like that, and you know, no brainers, that kind of thing.
So Philip Lancashire's going to miss what armor and get the hints. I, in theory, will, but in practice, never score them. Or they come out at the wrong time. What armor I used to take a lot, and then just exactly. But then it just, I don't know. It always seemed to be. I'd get the cleave off when I didn't have it in hand, or when I had it in hand, I didn't have the attacks with cleave. So yeah, I'm not sure. I won't miss more armor. And then Alistair says, "What would I particularly miss? What do I miss when we're doing the decks? I miss, not surprising, I miss Easy Glory. I think the glory is harder to come by in Beastgrave, or certainly with just Beastgrave. I think things like a calculated risk, I suppose. Although, again, I've not been taking that so much towards the end of Beastgrave. I think because I've been taking the more fragile warbands, and so I always feel like calculated risk is a risk, or taking condemners. And it's just a liability when you're playing. Lethal hexes are a liability when you're playing something like that.
Yeah, Phillips just pointed out Faneway Crystal as an objective player that he is will be great this night. I think Faneway Crystal is definitely one that's going to get missed, and there's not really any alternatives to Faneway Crystal right now. No, there isn't. And it is a good card, and what I like about it is it can be unuseful too, if that makes any sense. Yes. So you can put it on, and then you have to use it. I quite like that. Like that. It's got that. It was one of the sort of first card. Well, not maybe one of the first cards, but it's definitely one of the Nightvault cards where you can see that they've started to get the hang of balancing the good with some kind of drawbacks, and that whether it's intentional or not, that card worked really well because it gave you a great benefit. But if your opponent, I think it's a little bit powerful. And I think I almost wonder now. I don't know what I'd do, whether they do it again. I can see it because Matt's asked, would it get into a gift pack? I can see maybe with a slight rewording, maybe it could end up in a gift pack because it is one of the few. There aren't very many teleport across the board cards, are there? Not many now, especially now that once they rolled out, once they cycled out Shade Spy, you lost Hidden Paths, things like that as well.
So yeah, as Yongjin has said, it's Fangway Crystal's aggro's best hope against diagonal boarding, and you won't have anything really apart from a couple of spectral wing type cards.
Yeah,
it's
there used to be what's that called? Commanding Stride. That's going to go as well.
That's going to go,
which was possibly quite handy in certain circumstances to get somebody across the board and on into the other person's half without sacrificing a move. Shadowed Steps going as well.
There
was
Shadowed Step.
I've started to use oh god, what's the card called? I've used it in the last 2 or 3 decks I've made. It's the one where you scatter 3 hexes. Desperate Flight really or something like that.
It's pretty good. I think you've had one fail where you just got off in the wrong direction, but it's been really effective. I think that's a good card.
Yeah, because it's got that slight gamble to it that it's got the scatter in there, but you've got 3 out of 4, so you're bound to get something that's not too bad. So Desperate Flight's definitely one that's going to feature in a lot of my decks if I'm looking to have some movement shenanigans and trying to get somebody around quickly. That's a definite. Yeah,
it's a good card. Philip Lancashire's going to miss Hoarder. You don't get anybody saying that.
But that is true with Grimwatch, and
they are good. It's good for Grimwatch. I can see that.
Somebody did mention earlier up when you were saying you're not enjoying and I don't think either of us enjoying the fact that we're going to be losing easy scorers. Is that going to help stop that runaway glory train? And maybe a little bit. I think definitely the Beastgrave cards, especially the Surge cards, they're starting to get trickier to score. They've got more requirements around them often. So
yes,
because there used to be like there was it Cover Ground? We used to have to go through 6 hexes.
Yeah.
But in the original iteration of it, you could just literally bounce between 2 hexes. But in the new version, you have to go through 6 different hexes. So you do have to.
That's the difference between. I don't know. I don't think you still do. But you have to go through the hexes, so you can't Fameway.
Yes, you couldn't use Fameway for that one anyway. But I'm just thinking.
But you used to be able to use Fameway. That's how they reworded it. So in when it first came out, you could use Fameway to score it, but when they reworded it, you couldn't. Yeah. But I don't think you have to. Do you have to go in 6 different hexes? Do you?
I think you
do.
You
can still run around in a loop.
You can.
Gather Momentum is a better version of it, where you have to be 5. You have to have gone. You have to be 5 hexes away. That's a better iteration of it, I think. And that can be quite hard. It can be really annoying when you've got that, but your opponents are so up in your face, you can't actually score it.
Yeah. What other cards are there that will be sad to miss? Sad to see go. Potion of Rage.
Yeah.
Potion of Rage is a great card, and obviously the other slightly better / worse one, depending on how you look at it, was Haymaker. It's going to be another one going.
Yeah. Potion of Rage definitely. Used to use that in a lot of decks.
Yeah.
2 Steps Forward. That's a nice card, and I like 2 Steps Forward because it's that's got a drawback.
Yeah.
And so that again, I reckon you'll see that again. But one card I really, really want to see again, I don't think it's even in the most used cards because we've got that selected at the moment. But that's Mirror Move. I just think Mirror Move is a great card, and I would love to see that back. But there was a really nice period during Beastgrave where Mirror Move was in a lot of decks because it was a chance of an extra distractions. I think the distraction cycled out and they hadn't bought it back and they hadn't got the extra one, which I've now forgotten what that's called. And that was really good. It was really nice to use Mirror Move, but as soon as they brought in 2 distractions, then nobody ever took it again. And obviously those two cards still aren't rotating out, so I still don't know, even if they did bring Mirror Move back, whether very many people would play it.
That's true. I'm going to miss Sudden Growth. That was like one of my go-to cards whenever I had...
I hate Sudden Growth.
I think the thing is because once Sudden Growth cycles out, there's only going to be a very few warbands who have a warband specific Sudden Growth, and there are people like Hrothgorn. Like, really? Do they need it?
Yeah, I hate that card even more. But Sudden Growth, I don't know. Mainly probably because we usually forget to do the -2 move later, so it's just like a free 2 wounds. But there's just something really irritating about it.
I guess in some ways it does stop the all eggs in one basket thing, which I don't like in general.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it means warbands like my Despoilers, whenever I would, try and super dupe someone like Draknar and send him across the board, it just which meant they were a little bit harder to take down. But
Sudden Growth is one of those cards that, well, it's restricted anyway, but it's one of those cards that is really good for some warbands, like really helpful, but then it makes other warbands too good. You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
like you say in Despoilers, I don't think anybody particularly minds Draknar having a couple of extra wounds because he's pretty fragile and he's kind of like your main hitter. So it's kind of, it's a fair buff. But when you say somebody here, Craig has said in Morgox it's horrible.
Yeah.
It's just, that card is just a nightmare in Morgox, especially if they've got all sorts of push things they can do. It's true. And so that card is like a classic, makes the Curse Breakers card better, even if you reflect the Eyes of the Nine kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's just, it makes the good guys even better.
Yeah, there is that. Combination Strike's a card I'm not going to be sad to see the back of.
No,
we both took it for ages, and then it got restricted, rightfully so, I think. And we never, I don't think either of us really ever took it very often after that. Every now and then, but not often.
One of those funny cards that when it first came out, I don't think it was that good because there weren't that many reliable Surge cards.
Yeah.
So it was quite hard to score, and then I kind of ignored it. Possibly getting it confused with there's an even worse one. It's Shadespire. I can't remember what that's called. Where you had to be in the same phase.
Oh yeah. One.
But whatever it is, I can't remember. There is an even worse one, and then I kind of forgot about it. Then suddenly everybody was taking it. And then suddenly everybody was taking it because the Surge cards got so high that it was worth taking.
Yeah, of course there was that little chink of time where you could take any number of Surge cards, and there'd be some decks with like 8 or 9 Surge cards. It was just crazy back in the dark days of Nightvault, I think that was.
Yeah, Alistair says he never particularly liked the win more cards. Yeah, exactly. It just makes the decks a little bit too reliable without any struggle. Definitely, especially when the passive glory started to become easy to come by.
No, I didn't mind cards. I didn't mind cards so much that were like solid gains, which was if you scored 3 glory, you get a glory, because it wasn't so much of a massive win. But then there was another one, which was Opening Gambit, which was basically score a glory, effectively get another one. There was no challenge in that, really.
Yeah.
And definitely meant that glory train just took off much, much more.
Definitely. Although, again, the combined, it was a bit annoying, because it's like score an objective, get Opening Gambit, therefore score solid gains. Almost, I know you've got to get another glory in there somewhere, but it was all kind of that annoying, just make decks very reliable, which is kind of where it comes to, was sort of saying that's the competitive play. They're the people who kind of push the envelope, if you will, to make it as reliable as possible. So then that's why they have to rotate the cards out. So that's kind of the natural order of things. I think we'll be here in 12 months' time saying, I can't believe. I can't wait for Set the Tempo to go out because it's just so easy to score dual cards.
Yeah, there could be something like that. Yeah. Somebody said Warning Shot. Philip Lancashire, the participation award, and Rob Watson said he's always found Warning Shot to be the best accuracy buff in the game. Yeah. I think Mr. Marlowe would agree with that one.
Definitely. Yeah.
So some other cards I've just seen as I've been scrolling through. Spectral Armour. Gonna miss that. That's been a solid card for a long time.
Yeah, actually, I tend to play the shield-based Warbane, so I'm not going to miss that as much as you.
Spectral Armour was I mean, we've got Substance Siphon, which is in some ways a better Spectral Armour, in some ways worse, depending on when it comes out. But I always took both of those in most of my like Despoilers and Grimwatch, those kind of decks.
Yeah, my heart sinks when you put Siphon one on. Just.
Oh, for God's sake. One that's annoyed me, Strong Start. Although in some ways Strong Start and Martyred, I'm kind of happier going. I always liked them, but they were very specific, and I always had that problem where if I had Strong Start, I'd kill someone, score an objective for that, and then I'd pick up Strong Start. Like, awesome. Can't score that.
I don't mind Strong Start for that reason, that it can be a dead slot almost immediately. and martyred. They're not without risk taking those. So I don't mind those, and I could see you might see those back in a gift pack. I could see that they could come back.
Yeah, possibly.
Keep chopping, I think, might come back as well, unless they've got. I think it'll come back reworded, but unless they've got alternatives in Diachasm, I think keep chopping for aggro warbands is probably essential. But as we discussed before, it needs to be changed so that it can only be range 1 or 2, or possibly just range 1, but definitely only range 1 or 2 attacks, and can't be keep shooting.
Yeah, I think maybe they should do 2 cards. They should have keep chopping, which is 2 glory for 4 attacks at the range 1 or 2, and a keep shooting, which is 4 attacks at range 3, and you get 1 glory because it's much easier to pull off.
Yeah. Well, there is a card like that, isn't there? I can't remember.
There might be. Yeah. Matt says there's a fair number of factions have their own versions of. What do you mean of? Do you mean of fire up or keep chopping?
I don't think anybody has a keep chopping, do they?
I don't think so, but I'm interested to see what Matt's talking about. That's why I think I've got the wrong end of the stick. Philip Lancashire asks that he's guessing the fire list will be reduced quite drastically after rotation. Don't know how many cards are coming off the list. I haven't actually done the maths on that one, Philip. I'm assuming there's going to be quite a few cards dropping off, though. And
yeah, I haven't. There will be some.
And I remember last time it dropped down.
Fire list you've got, of course. Julius Speed, I won't be sorry to see.
Go.
Yeah, sorry.
You didn't finish that one. I won't be sorry to see.
Well, I won't be sorry to see it. I don't like it. It's one of those cards that breaks. It's one of those interactions that breaks the game regularly. Yeah, it seems to me. I mean, particularly at the moment. But I won't be sad to see that. I think it's probably too good a card. Although I quite like it. What I would like to see is tightening up of reaction windows and things to be a bit less. I don't know. The reaction windows still haven't quite got it right for me, especially when the things like Prescient Blow come up, and in its interaction with Julius Speed, and not to give too many spoilers away, when you play Rippers, I think the poor old Wolves need in particular need some tightening up of the.
Yeah, I think the Rippers, I think they need to separate reactions to activations from reactions to actions. So if you do a charge, someone should be able to make a reaction to the charge. Oh, that was a bad example. If you do a move and someone reacts to the move, they should be able to do that reaction to the move, but then you should be able to get a reaction after the activation as well. So in the case of the Rippers, if you attack somebody and then they use something like Julius Speed or whatever to react to your first attack, that obliterates the wolf attack. So the wolf attack, I think, should be after the activation.
Well, it's basically any reaction that's after an activation. Isn't it? I think that for Rippers, it just needs an errata that's basically after the attack action. I think, rather not after the attack action, but after the attack, but before the activation finishes, maybe.
Yeah, I definitely think that the Rippers need something there to give them that edge, because they need the wolves, but there's too many varied upgrades and ploys out there that interrupt the wolf attack, and that takes away some of the wolf riders.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there should be necessarily nothing, if you see what I mean, that works. So if you've got something that pushes you away, then so be it. That's one card, but there are awful lot of reactions which are after an activation. So there's quite a lot of things that can disrupt the wolves, and if you're playing Rippers, you kind of rely on that. And I think it's just that interaction, and it can be something entirely innocuous that people just play because they can.
Like the bat upgrade that we had in that game.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, why should that stop the wolf from biting your head off?
Yeah.
Just because the bat's flying towards you a bit more. Makes no sense.
No.
Wow, Philip Lancashire has done the maths. 21 universal cards are coming off the far list, leaving only 10. Wow. I like that.
Nice. Yeah.
What other cards are there that are going that we're going to be a bit sad to see go? Digging deep, I'm going to be sad to see go, because I kind of just started getting into that whole card drawing sort of tactics. So
yeah, I don't think I've ever played. I think I might have played it once, so I'm not sure that I will particularly notice its departure. I'm not sure that too many card drawing mechanics are good for the game.
No, it can get a bit dull if you just sit there drawing.
But I don't think there are too many at the moment. I don't think there are too many. So I think that one's okay, and I reckon that GW will want to try and maintain a bit of control. So I think you could see that coming back or something similar coming back. I think
They can make it a bit different, I guess, but yeah.
that reminds me, I haven't listened to the Steel City Underworld's latest podcast about they're doing about is to the end bad for the game. I think something like that. I haven't listened to it. I want to listen to that.
I can't work out with to the end bad for the game or not. I mean, I don't think it's going to win you the game, and to win it, it's a third end phase 2 glory card, and you've got to get through all of your decks. So you still need to you've got to concentrate on getting all those cards out. I personally don't think it's bad.
I think it's.
There you go. Didn't a whole video for that.
Bad when it interacts with some other things. Because I realised the other day that if you're going to play the Urgrub avatar, then you probably need to play some drawing cards, and therefore if you're playing the drawing cards, then you might as well play to the end, and then suddenly you've got a very reliable way of getting the 3 cards out, and you're going to get an extra 2 glory for doing it as well. So I'm not sure that I like that kind of interaction. But other than that, I don't think it's particularly a good card. I mean, I think it's perhaps a little bit too easy to score now. There was a time when you were looking at probably going to have to throw something away you didn't want to, or draw something at some point to get through your deck, and now you probably don't have to, because there's quite a number of draw opportunities, aren't there? So we'll see.
Philip Anxious pointed out to Rosa that there was the Stormcast with the big crossbows and the Griffhound, which came out around the time Dreadfane came out, I think it was, and people were saying maybe that's maybe that's going to be a warband in season 4. So yeah, maybe they were. I think we saw 3 warbands that all had moulded bases. There was obviously Lady Harrow's, there was Gwyn Ironsoul's, Condemners, and then there was this crossbow set of fighters which weren't anything special at the time. So maybe, but we haven't seen a warband that early before. So I wonder, thinking about how far in advance they work, would those models have been? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there'll be another one. I'm not 100% convinced though.
No, I'm not sure. I think there will be some more Stormcasts. It's a cheaper way of doing that for them, isn't it?
Sam Wilson, hi dudes and dads. Hello Sam. I like that intro, dudes and dads. I like that. It's a bit like dudes and dads. Jessup's just asked what are some good Underworld podcasts, so everyone gets shouting in the comments.
There's
some good ones.
The Steel City Underworld one is really good. I think it was called Chatting Crypt. I think it's got a slightly different name now, but they're really good.
What the Hex?
What the Hex? Path to Glory.
Yep.
Battle for Salvation. I think they're
Battle for Salvation. I don't think I've heard that one.
That's what it's called. That's I forgot his name. Beecham, his surname. What is Bob? No, I can't remember. Can't remember his name. But most of them are US based.
Yeah.
But I think the Steel City might be the only
UK based one.
There's the Ready for Action. Have one, but theirs is a bit too chatty for my liking, he says.
Oh, we appear to be in a very large glass house, Robin.
Well, what I mean is that the one I listened to, they had lots of them, and they were all talking, and I found it really difficult to follow. That's what I mean. We talk, but there's only 2 of us.
That's true, and we generally let one person finish before the other one starts.
What?
Very good.
Yes,
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Theirs was a bit chaotic, and there's probably a lot of good information in there, but I was similarly put off a little bit by it was almost like just sitting in and listening to five mates having a chat, which was okay, but
Matthew Martin's got one as well, hasn't he? Is that the Crit Death podcast? Is that what it's called?
Oh, it might be, yeah.
He's got one, but I don't think that because obviously they're all a bit up in the air with COVID. I don't think they've made one for a while, but I think he's hoping to.
So hopefully, just that helps. Do check all those out. There's some great stuff going on there. Some very in-depth discussions in some of those as well. I wonder if podcast is... I mean, I've never got into podcasts myself, but that might just be because I've never got the time to just listen to something. If I've got the time to listen, I'm always doing something which requires listening to the thing I'm doing something about. Maybe I should try and listen to more of them when I'm painting. But
that's a very good point, Jack. The Well of Power sort of has a list of them. That's a very point, yes.
Why don't we just do that to start with? Go check out the Well of Power,
Thanks,
as
Jack.
obviously pointed out there by Jack. Check them out, and there's loads on What other? Somebody's just mentioned about any thoughts on the cards that will come in the Arena Mortis, and we can come on to that in a minute because I wanted to talk about that. But I first wanted to see if there were any more cards that anybody was going to be missing, or any other cards that we're going to be sad to see go. Philip Youngster says this is technically a podcast with a video. I mean, you could just listen to us, I guess.
Yeah, that's probably the best way, rather than looking at us. Inspired attack. I like inspired attack, particularly for goblins.
Yeah, I liked Inspired Attack.
Yeah.
It had enough of a restriction about it, but it gave some of the weaker fighters that were easy to inspire a little bit of hope.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that. Well, Mirror Move's still a hot card. Interesting. People are still taking it.
What armour I think I'm going to be sad to see go, because that was always a great card for people like Sepulchral Guard, where you had the champion who had cleave from the off, that kind of thing. You
used to use it a lot with the not the Amber Bone, the mutating maul, which presumably so is
that's going to go as well.
Yeah. Pete loves the mutating maul.
So that for game upon game upon game.
Yeah,
that one.
So it used to be in every card, every game. It's funny what comes and goes. And at one point we took Larval Lance all the time, but I haven't seen that in a game for a very long time.
That's a good point. I haven't taken that for a while. I think my weapon upgrade of choice, if I'm going to take it these days, is going to be an Amber Bone weapon because of the extra glory. And it's probably going to be the mace, because the 2 hammers with a reroll is solid.
It's between the mace and the spear for me. I like range.
Yeah, the range is handy.
Getting an attack off without having to move is good.
That can be handy, but the mace with that reroll.
Yeah, that is
pretty good. Reroll both dice, that makes it pretty accurate.
It is very accurate.
And with a great strength or something like that, it can be pretty scary.
Yeah.
Scorched Earth's going to go. Going to lose Scorched Earth eventually, which is possibly a good thing because it was a bit of a hangover from not having tiles flip.
Yeah, I've gone down the bottom of the popularity stakes. Void Scepter is going to go. Who's going to miss Void Scepter? Who's ever taken Void Scepter? Strong Arm. Strong Arm is an upgrade that gives you action plus an adjacent enemy fighter up to 1 hex.
Wow. Or you could just hit them and then push them a hex as well.
Yeah,
I guess you might miss.
You guarantee it, but it's like distraction when you haven't got anything else to do.
Yeah. And you have to be next to them, obviously, within punching range.
Quintox Gamble. I think I took that in a game. If this speller's card, shuffle your power discard pile face down, then add the top card to your hand. I took something like one of these ones that requires a spell that requires a crit.
Oh yeah.
I feel like I did take one of those ones, but no, it's.
Andrew will miss Method in the Madness, Rosie. You are right there.
I think we should. There should be like a written in the rules that Andrew can still play that. If you're called Andrew Marlowe.
If you're called Andrew Marlowe and you're playing Eyes of the Nine,
you take that card.
Jack, you said the sword is very similar to the mace, but with more upsides. I can't remember what the Amber Bone mace is. Amber Bone sword is like. I'll have to look at that one.
It's got more edges. Don't know about upside. Yeah, Julie's speed. Lots of people are going to miss Julie's speed. One of those people who always forgets to use it, so I'm not really up on Julie's speed. The 2 spell kill 1 glory upgrade objectives are going. Yes, they are, aren't they? Yeah.
But then there are some warbands, like we've seen with the Blade Cove, and they're getting their own version of precise use of force. So I'm liking the fact that the warbands are getting better objective cards that make it worth taking those ones. Yeah.
3 hams, which Jimmy's hammers, rather than 2 with reroll.
Craig Sargent asked, do we think the Eyes and Curse Breaks will rotate out of play when a good chunk of spells disappear? I don't think we'll see any warbands ever rotate out, ever. I think
rather than buy. I
think they'll get used less.
Yeah. I reckon, actually, that's a good point. We were asked, what do we think will feature in a gift pack? I think there'll be a pack of spells.
Yeah.
I reckon. They won't want to write out the magic mechanic. And there aren't enough spells to make it worthwhile. So I think we'll see a whole load of sweet cards coming out. Just sort of February next year.
Just reprints of them or something like that, maybe.
I think probably reprints. I mean, you could almost wonder whether they might do a whole kind of magic box. Who knows?
Well, I mean, the elves, we're obviously getting Cow Elves and Slanesh in the next season, and they're both possibly magic-based warband, so... Yeah, Craig says Lumineth will likely bring spells with them in the new starter box. There'll be some in there, but you only get 5 universal cards in the starter box.
Yeah,
So there's only going to be...
Jack says he bet on any gift pack having at most 4 spells. Yes, I suppose you're right. I suppose, although we might like to see the spells, they're going to have to be distributed throughout the other products, otherwise nobody will buy it.
Yeah, exactly. Or it'll be the must-have for spellcasters, and nobody else will give a crap.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah.
Mark has mentioned Glory Seeker, and I'm going to miss any cards that help your ranged attacks, because I always think that ranged attacks just aren't.
Yeah.
They haven't got any teeth, and I'm going to miss that.
Yeah. Yeah, anything that gives extra. What's the one that gives extra dice? Is it Champion's Fortitude? I feel like maybe it's Glory Seeker.
Might be Glory Seeker. One gives you an extra dice, and one gives you +1 damage if they've got a wound of 4
right,
or
okay.
more, isn't it?
Yeah.
I never can remember which one. One's like Glory Seeker and one's Challenge Seeker, I think.
Challenge Seeker, that's why I would mean Challenge Seeker.
Not Challenge Seeker. It does literally have teeth. That is true, Jace. That is very true.
Jonathan says, will they not come back in the universal cards in Diachasm? Some will, so they'll reprint the standard ones that are in all the boxes.
You'll get Supremacy and I can never remember the one where you have to get into the opponent's half. Always slips my mind that one and Denial and Confusion and Conquest. Thank you.
Yeah.
You'll get a load of basic ones printed, but most of them.
There's a few new ones, aren't there? I can't remember what they are. And there was like
there was the healing spell.
It's always took this marked and peril something. No, I can't remember. Again with the P. I can't remember what it was.
There was that really crap one where was it Caltrops?
Caltrops can't be a Caltrop.
That one was a shit card. No one ever took that in Beastgrave that I'm aware of to date. Because that was one of those fucky ones again, where it's like, if you're driven back as an attack action, you can use this card as long as you're not being driven into a lethal hex, and then you do this, and like, it was just too much fucking around. Just gave up. Predatory Instinct, I mean, that's not getting rolled
Predatory, out. See, that's it. I was trying to remember. It wasn't Peril. That's what I was trying to remember.
But that's not getting removed, is it?
No, it's not. It's not getting removed, but it's one of the standard ones. Oh, I thought I'd frozen there for a minute.
Nope.
Good.
Michael Snap asks, can he use the Shadespire Great Fortitude? Yes, where a card, they've said previously, where there is a card that has the same wording as a previous season's card, you can use the previous season card. But you can't have more than one of it, obviously, so you can't have Great Fortitude from Shadespire and one from Nightvault and then one from Beastgrave. Personally, though, I always use the most up-to-date ones because I just generally like, because I'm a completionist like that.
Also, some of the, not Great Fortitude, but some of the other ones have more up-to-date wording, and it's the new wording you have to go by.
Yes, Jack's just said that as well. You have to use the most up-to-date wording, which means that whilst it's nice keeping hold of the old cards in case they release reprints of them, more often than not, it's easier to get the new ones. Because the wording's going to be slightly different, and it will make a difference, and then you'll have the old card, and you'll go, I'm going to do this, and then your opponent will go, well, actually, this is what the new card says, and then you realise you're buggered.
Yeah.
What other cards got? Abyssos Unmaking is going to go. Now, I remember when Abyssos Unmaking first previewed, and I hated it. hated it with a passion.
You were a pro objective play.
I was pro objective play. Nightvault was all about offense, and objective play was getting absolutely smashed to pieces. And then they went, oh, and by the way, there's a card to help you destroy objectives. Hated that card. Hated it. But it came back in the end. It wasn't too bad. Spirit Bond's going to go, which I think is good in some ways. I mean, it was restricted anyway, but I don't think it's a bad thing. Abyssos Withering is going to go as well, and again, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing because it was one of those cards which was different to the base rule because it didn't do a wound; it took a wound off, and there was always that confusion about does that kill you if you only have one wound left, and
does it count as being taken out of action by the fighter, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, required a lot of discussion around that one.
Yeah, back from the days when Curse Breakers were ruled the waves.
Yeah,
his grave. Long gone now, I think.
I've got into a part of the less used cards, less popular, where I barely ever use them now, like Versatile Fighter.
Oh, yeah.
It's handy in
Yeah,
some decks, I
try
guess.
to take that. Get one of those cards that work beautifully sometimes, and then just didn't work at all others.
Yeah.
What's Black Powder Sphere?
Oh, that's the one where you can pick a hex and then you scatter it one from that hex, and then everybody you roll for
Okay.
everybody in an adjacent hex, and if you roll like a hammer or shield or something like that, or sorry,
Yeah.
a hammer or crit, then they take a wound.
Interesting. I've never played that. I don't think.
I don't think I ever did. I think it was great if you knew you were coming up against Grots or something like that, but the
Yeah.
minute you're up against like Stormcast, it was so random. There were just better cards to do.
Yeah.
Ping
Good against
damage with.
Grimwatch, I suppose, when they were rampant.
Yep, yep. No one likes a rampant Grimwatch.
People sleeping on curse breakers at the moment still got potential. Yes, I think they have. I think the people often is the way people's heads are turned. Apart from Michael Carlin, who's still playing Moloch, people's heads are turned by the new boys, and I think the curse breakers are still solid. I think, but maybe people apart from Matt. Matt, you don't play them that much now either, do you? But I mean, you love them. But I think maybe just got a bit bored of them.
Yeah, I think maybe it's because they're a bit samey now. There was one way to play them, really. And once people worked that out, it was like, oh, okay, so that's what they do. It's not like you can do objective grabbing with them and stuff. It wasn't like the Wormspat when they came out and they were a bit shit. So everyone wanted to work out what the Wormspat were good at.
Yeah. So Jay says, do you think we're better off without guaranteed glory objectives like fired up, opening gambit, calculated risk? I think there has to be some solid, easily scoreable objective cards, because actually a game where your opponent doesn't score any glory, it's just rubbish for everybody, isn't it? It's just painful.
Yeah.
That's why Escalation was such a nice card and never got, or did it get restricted? But it never, because
it was always worth taking because you could have 5 restricted cards, couldn't you?
Yeah, because it just you if you're, even if things were going badly for you, you might score it with your opponent doing putting objective upgrades on, and then that meant you got your glory train going, which meant you might be able to do something. So I think the game does need them, otherwise it gets very can get really sort of horrible for one or other of the players. They just pretty hidden purpose. Those cards will always use some form. Yeah, hidden purposes. Hidden purpose is the is that they not quite so good. Temporary victory. It's not quite the even
hidden
easiest.
Purpose is the hold 2 objectives and get 1 glory for it. So
and that card is just, for most warbands, is just so easy to score.
I mean, you can even score that in a 3-fighter warband, depending on what you're doing. You can still score it fairly reliably there, and that's a surge as well. But I like that because it still requires you to have 2 people on objectives, so there's still a bit more thought required to go into that than fired up or opening gambit. So
it's very strong with some of the other cards that are available, though. It's stronger than fired up because of that's 1 glory. You've got to get on an objective. You've got to do that anyway if you want to play cards like Jealous Defense, or you want to, I think it's very, very strong.
Yeah, there is that to it. So I could definitely see that we're getting put on the restricted list at some point in the near future.
Yeah, Mark says without easy glory cards, the game can polarise towards certain warbands. That's very true, because some warbands have some very easy score. I mean, like bloody Thorns. Yeah. Or even Grimwatch. I know they've restricted them, but they've just got some. It's just like, as we joke about it, but turn up and score glory.
I think there's I don't have a problem with 1 glory end phase cards being easy, because they're 1 glory, so it's a low return and it's an end phase card, so it's not as good. I don't mind that. I always object more to the easy to score surges that are 1 or 2 glory, or the easy to score end phase cards that are 2 or 3 glory for just doing what you were going to do anyway. Those are the ones I have a problem with. Yeah,
I would agree with that.
Right. Because you want to make it challenging. You still want to make it so you've got to work for it without having to. It's not just turn up kind of cards you want to have.
Yes.
And I think it's cards like Hidden Purpose and other ones kind of sometimes force you to do things you might not necessarily want, or there's the ones like where you've got to score 5 surge cards or something like that. Those kind of ones, they're a bit trickier to score. You've got to work on them a bit more.
Yeah, I quite like the new iterations of those. There's a hybrid one, isn't there? And there's the one where you can score like a couple of each type. That's why scoring
dual, a couple of surge.
I think, and I like that.
Hybrid.
It makes you've got to think about the deck. Okay, you've still got to try and put in as easy score possible, surges and what have yous in there anyway, because you know, particularly if you've got you're relying on the multipliers. But I think that's okay because it really does mean you've got to play to a certain way, and you've got to. If you can't ditch a dual card, in the hope that you pick up a surge and then score combination strike. So you've got a plan. You've kind of got to stick with it, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Jay says that he thinks they need to pay more attention to easily scoreable surges for each warband. Feels like those can nudge a warband that might have been reasonable into powerful very easily. I think that's true, but they have banned easy surge cards, or not banned. They have restricted easy surge cards for warbands in the past. Rothgorn and the Grimwatch being two examples of that, obviously. So it's not like they can't apply the nerf bat where required.
No, but it is awkward in that phase where they haven't done that.
Yes.
And so you are just, certain warbands are just printing the glory from until they do a far list.
Do.
Do we think passive decks are officially a play type now? Aggro, flex, or objective, or will GW work to phase it out? I think they won't phase it out, and I do think that they are a play style. I think they probably want it to be, so that you've got the triangle of control, aggro, and objective play. Is that a reasonable triangle?
It's more like a square now, isn't it? Because you've got that, and you've also got flex, which sort of bounces.
Well, flex sits in the middle of the triangle.
Yeah, true. I guess. Yeah.
That's how I look.
From the top.
Yeah, if you like, yeah.
Lazarus says the hybrid one's useless as there's hardly any hybrid cards. There's 9 of them. There's 9 hybrid cards. Various ones are surges or jewels. So there's options there.
Yeah. I quite like I quite like the hybrid ones, although I've never managed to take whatever it's called, the strategies. I can't remember what it's called. Rosa gave me what they were, so maybe it's there. Lost it now. Aggressive strategies at the £10 per match, and none of those are the hybrid one, are they?
Perfect match is a strong one because you've got to score 10 objectives. 10 objectives. Isn't it?
I have yet to have the balls to play that.
I think I took it in one game, and it might have been a Marlowe deck, and I think it came up in like my first hand.
Right.
And it was like, crap. The other 2 cards weren't great, so I was stuck with the fact that if I get rid of my opening hand, I then, obviously I'm getting rid of that card, I can't score it, or I've got to keep it and just try, and then I kept it and tried and failed miserably. It might have been when you had Eric's Eyes of the Nine deck.
Okay,
I was proper screwed up.
Some of the faction hybrid cards are pretty good as well, so it could work for some warbands. That's true.
I'm not sure there's any faction hybrid cards except for the elves.
Oh, okay. So they are quite good. Or are they duels? They've got a couple of decent dual ones as well. They've got the if you're on one objective and nobody else is, and
yeah, I think it might just be.
Is it just them? I mean, that's a good point. Actually, those kind of cards would definitely be easier for warbands that are later. If you see what I mean, I know Surge counts, but that for any hybrid and dual cards that crop up in later warbands, they'll have a small advantage there.
If you get a perfect match in opening hand, since Bin Rosa says it can be. I think it can be. That's it. I can't remember. I think the other 2 cards I had weren't banned though, possibly. But
I think with the restricted surges and going into Beastgrave only, I think it has to be. If you had to pick one warband to represent the Nightvault season, what would you pick?
Mollog, because I opened it.
That's really tough. I think I would go with the Briar Queen, probably just because she's on the box. But they scream Nightvault to me. It feels like the Nightvault was there domain.
It's a bit unnerving sometimes.
It feels like the Nightvault was their domain.
Yeah, I'm trying to
think, but really I want to say Gits because they're the best.
I like Gits and they're still pretty strong now. So
yeah, well I didn't mean the best. I just meant best as in they're the most fun, interesting, and just generally lovely.
I guess from that respect, I'd say Mollog, because he greatly polarised the game.
Yeah, see, I don't feel like he did define the Nightvault at all, because although he elicits very strong feelings, I don't think anybody particularly associates the game that much with Monarch. I mean, maybe a period of the game, but not the actual game itself. Eyes of the Nine hold especially. Yeah, Eyes of the Nine, but they almost sit outside of it for me. They almost sit. They typify Warhammer. They typify Warhammer Underworlds for me. they sit above Nightvault and they sit at the other seasons. So I'm going to go with Thorns.
They transcend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's probably Thorns. I think it's probably got. Yeah, I think Thorns. They definitely. They're still relevant now. They were on the box. They did well during Nightvault. They did better in the earlier end of Beast Grade and stuff as well.
Almost always Thundrix. Almost forget about Thundrix. And Ilthari. Thundrix and Ilthari are like the poor. Not poor, but they just, I don't know. They
sort of came along. I mean, Thundrix did quite well for themselves.
They did,
as well.
yeah. I think they're still pretty solid, or they were until I don't know how they perform under the new file list. They're a nice warband, but to me they're almost forgotten. It's almost, were they in the last pair? It's almost like the curse of being the last pair.
No, yeah, possibly. What was the last pair in? Yeah, because the last pair in Shadespire was Magor and Fast Riders, wasn't it? I think it was.
Ilthari and Thundrix. Godsworn Hunt are the ones that Alistair always forgets. So I played Godsworn Hunt quite a bit, so I don't forget those. But
Godsworn Hunt were one of those poor warbands that you saw them and they had so much potential, and then you get the warband, you're like, oh, so they're just all shit then. Yeah,
it is Magor and Fast Riders because there are only cards for those.
Oh yeah, there's no cards for them. I found a contact on Facebook who's going to be selling me the Garrick's Reavers and Severin Steelheart's all art cards. I'm going to keep those Garrick ones. You can have the Severin ones.
Don't want
them. Shit, don't want them anyway.
Thank you. But thank you. That's very kind of you. I hope you're not paying a lot of money for them, that's what I'm going to say.
No, but I want the Garrick's ones anyway. So. Just because the Garrick's ones, in the first season, the artwork was sort of behind all the stat lines and stuff, so it wasn't like just an artwork box still.
Okay.
Those original ones, it was like the whole thing was the artwork and the stat lines were over top of it, so that looked much nicer.
So angry for the lack of promo from Magors. Yeah, this is one of those things. This is one of those things that passes me by. I know people have their own things in hobby, and the promo cards are just go straight over my head. So I literally have no fucks to give about the fact that they didn't do.
I mean, I don't collect them, and I don't care. I mean, I had no chance being able to collect them because you had to come at a certain point in a league or a tournament or whatever to be able to get them. So I had no chance of getting them. But also, I didn't really see the point in getting them because I didn't care that much about them. But I can see how incredibly frustrating it would be for people. And I don't understand GW's logic at all. We're like, okay, we've done the first 6 warbands. Should we do the last 2? Nah, no one's going to give a fuck about that. Do you not understand your customer base here? How do you not get this?
Well, they could just print them up and give away White Dwarf. They'd sell an extra 10,000 copies that week.
Probably would, yeah. Probably would.
Yeah. Hey Robin, what's wrong with Magors? Nothing. It's not the Magors are fine. It's the promo cards I was talking about specifically. A lot of people got very irate about the fact that there were no promo cards for the last 2 warbands of Shadespire, but partly because I never went to any tournaments, and partly because I'm not that bothered about about promo cards. I wasn't bothered.
Jack says he's very disappointed with the aesthetics of the cracked ones. I don't understand what you mean by the cracked ones. Do you mean promo?
Some of the Shadespire crackles on them, were they the original promo ones rather than the winner ones? I can't remember. Remember the cracked promos. Were they the ones that they brought out? Cause there were some available that were like before the game, weren't they? Because I think they've got a better stat or something. I think because there's an errata or an FAQ that says you can't use Angarad's extra ability or something. I can't remember what it is. Anyway, the ones they're the ones you're getting, Pete.
Okay, cool. Okay, I'll find that out.
I feel like there was a version of a card which was out that they gave away before the game even came out, and it's got something different on it. But then it says in the one of the original FAQs you can't use whatever it is. I can't remember what it is. 3 Glory, our promo conquest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there it is. Thank you, Jack.
You just saved him there.
He's
Just
on
from
fire.
drowning. Robin was drowning.
It's on fire tonight.
So I think, you know, once Nightvault rolls out and we've just got Beastgrave and some Durgasm rolling around. I mean, we've already been playing with just Beastgrave stuff, and I'm not sure that Durgasm early on is going to add huge amounts, but I'm definitely very excited by what that's going to entail, because I think that Nightvault, we've had, you know, Nightvault's done now. We need to get all the Nightvault cards out and start changing up all the card selection again. That's how I feel.
Yeah. How quickly do you think there'll be a new warband on? I reckon pretty hot on the tails of Diagasm. There'll be
Normally we get one around like February time, don't we?
Yeah, but it's all messed up, isn't it? Because obviously we normally get this in May, this in October, and then I can't remember.
Yeah,
there's normally a warband before February, and then more in the spring, February time. So I think they'll be pretty quick, hot on the heels. Extra cards. These are men, and then of course in between that, and then we've got the new cards from the new box, the Arena Mortalis box.
Yeah.
Which somebody said something about. There's a reprint of Helpful Whispers. I missed that.
Oh, did someone say that? If so,
Somebody said right at the top of the chat. I just noticed somebody said they've seen a reprint of Helpful Whispers, and there was something else. Oh, there's going to be an extra. I forgot what I was going to say. They're changing the fighter cards. Is that true?
I don't know. There are going to be a bunch of fighter cards that are going to be downloadable.
Oh, okay.
So whether that means they're going to be editing them and then releasing them or not, it's hard to say.
Somebody said somewhere again in the chat that they were going to do for Arena Mortis. They were going to do new. They were reprinted fighter cards, which would be interesting.
They're definitely reprinting some, and there is going to be a download that comes out next month. So
okay, I took it to mean that they were going to change them because the Warden is useless.
Yeah, I assume that for fighters like the Warden, they're going to change their action ability and either give them other actions or just remove those actions from their card, because they can't use those.
No, and does that mean that they would only then be able to? But they wouldn't be able to be used in the normal game, I assume.
No, I presume that they will only be used for this. There is a Helpful Whispers picture in the article that they published that's just been linked. There's also
no characters printed in AM. Okay, so they're just going to do extra characters through the download. Is that right?
I don't know. I'm just reading the article now to see what it says.
Okay, I should have read it before I came in. Snurk will be very scary, yes.
Possibly.
Although he can't make attack actions, can he? So.
Well, once you inspire him, no.
No, so his upgrades, depending on what they are, I suppose you can get some decent upgrades on it, can't you?
Somebody also mentioned, isn't Durgasm going to give us another 500 cards? It will, but they're going to get released slowly over time, so I don't see that as being a massive problem. I'm sure that by this time next year I'm going to be saying it's time to get rid of Beastgrave, roll on whatever they're going to call the next one, Soggy Slippers or whatever it's going to be, and just, yeah, I like changing it up. I like not getting stuck with the same stuff all the time.
Hungering Skaven with a couple of upgrades to start could be fun. We were talking in the Patreon Discord, weren't we, about having a animal fight.
Yeah.
The dogs fighting one another. Throw in the cats as well. Cats and dogs.
You now have 2 power steps in each of your turns. This is because you can only play reaction cards in other people's power steps. You just get to place a single card in both your own steps.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's going to be very interesting.
Looking forward to using the squigs. Yeah, the squigs could be pretty good.
I mean, the original promo picture they released did have a picture of a fighter card alongside the upgrades and the power cards. Whether they're going to reprint new fighter cards or not, I don't think it's 100% clear. But I think they did say they are going to be releasing a whole bunch to download, so they must be editing those because there's no reason, if they're just the standard fighter cards, to re-release them in a downloadable format.
No.
And yeah, Rob Ward says the Sepulchral Worm was that fighter card. It looked like his inspired card, which it did. And in the other promo pictures, just looking at, there seems to be other the champion, Underworld's champion, the Sepulchral Warden, Sepulchral Guard champion was on there as well. Again, the inspired version. So it's hard to tell whether it's just somebody who's taking the promo shots has just chucked a bunch of cards in there or what.
It's interesting they picked Sepulchral Guard as a kind of thing to look at.
Yeah, it's a bit funky. So Jack Farm, you're saying just no characters in the arena. Do you? I mean, sorry.
Helpful Whispers is there, isn't it?
It is in there, yeah. In fact, I think both sides have got a copy of it, and there's Great Fortitude as well. So, but then I don't think Great Fortude's going to be in that pack.
No, that's the Shadespire. Is that the Shadespire?
Kind of looks a bit like the Shadespire art.
Yeah. Interesting.
Jack Farm, you said we don't know, just no characters in Arena. I mean, have you read something specifically saying there are going to be no character cards in Arena? Because I couldn't see anything that suggested that there isn't going to be.
You can't set too much store in this picture because I just realised there's an Aurochs specific upgrade and there's no Aurochs on the board, are there?
There we go. that kind of tells you all you need to know about GW's marketing stuff. Yes, I believe all 6 fighters will go on a single board. So you just have the one board. All 3 to 6 fighters all go on the same one. It's going to be bloody. It's going to be fast. So, I know it's the promo card from Shadespire for the Warden. It seems odd to put a fighter card in the promo shot when they were just showing what was in the box, because it had the boards, the tokens, and the cards, and then there was a fighter card there. And I know it was a Sepulchral War one. It just seems odd to put a fighter card in the shot at all if there aren't going to be any fighter cards in there. Is my thinking, but you know.
Do we think that any of these Arena Mortalis things are going to end up in Diachasm, like these new objective type things, the Blood Spectralis and the Wasting Nexus? I quite like those. And do you think they'll leak into the Diachasm? So to speak, that just sounds rude. I'm not sure they will, but they could have card effect or hex effect squares. Couldn't hex effect squares? Effect hexes.
I don't know if I want to see something like that in Underworlds, if I'm honest.
I'm not sure I do. I just wonder whether they would do it, because obviously they do change things around. They do change things. I mean, I think it make it less competitive because it's more random, isn't it? And so, you know, if you ended up with, say, this one that gives you an extra glory if you're holding it. Well, they couldn't have it at any end phase, could they? Because that'd be a bit of a nightmare. But I just wonder whether we'll see. They've kind of flirted with different hexes before, haven't they? But they've never really impacted the game particularly. I think they had some. There's been like tokens to put on, like the Shard Fall, and I can't remember if there was a Nightvault one. I don't know. I just really spitballing. Really, I just wonder whether any of the changes, and of course the big change that I don't think. They will add is if they only be able to have one instance of an upgrade on the table at any one time.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of that for upgrades. I really like the idea of that, in fact, because I think it'll really stop people taking all the same upgrades all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one. It would totally shake up the game. And you might have to. They might be able to do away with the restricted list if they added it in. Because you can imagine.
Well, they'd still need it for objectives and ploys.
All right. Yes. Okay. But yeah.
But upgrades, they wouldn't probably need to have a restricted list for upgrades anymore. Because
No.
it would self-police, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but it would. It would, because everybody took the good card. It would add a whole level of a new level of mind games as well. Where do you take the good card and try and hold on to it until somebody, your opponent played it and then bosh them, because then you've got it for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
So I don't think they'll include it, but I would be intrigued to see if they did.
I wonder if they'll do something where the objectives 1 to 5, whether they do something different now, or whether you have upgrades that help you use objective 1 to 5 in different ways, or whether there'll be more powerful objective cards that you can then utilise if you're standing on specific objectives, or something like that.
Yeah,
Or
I don't know. It's an interesting one. I'm surprised actually. It's interesting. I don't know. I don't know whether it would have worked out better, but temporary victory might have been more interesting as some stand on objective 5, or not necessarily 5, but search cards for standing on specific objectives. Just but one, one glory.
Yeah, but then you've kind of got that with hidden presence, haven't you? One glory
Yeah,
for standing on 2 objectives.
yeah, yeah. I don't know, but a specific, a specific number of objectives, specific numbers of. I think was what I was expecting them to do, and perhaps would have made it less. Can you imagine if you couldn't play an objective if your opponent already scored it? Yeah, that would be interesting. What I was talking to Pete about it offline, and I wonder whether you could get an extra glory at the end of the game if your opponent hadn't scored or discarded the same objective as you. So to try and encourage people to take different objectives. So if you manage to take 12 unique objectives, then actually you could score quite a lot of glory.
Yeah, or maybe make it such
But if you
that
did it, so would your opponent. They wouldn't actually work, would it? I hadn't thought about that.
Or possibly, or you make it such that if you score an objective that somebody else already scored, you get 1 less glory, maybe, or something like that. Down to a minimum of 1, something like that.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
We had a couple of questions asked. Alistair asked, do we think we'll see a continuation of Hunter and Quarry in Diecast, or do we think they'll start focusing on something else? I personally think we'll sadly see both. I think we'll see more Hunter Quarry stuff, and they'll come up with a new mechanic as well, because they seem to like that.
We've got elements, haven't we?
Yeah, but that's kind of like I kind of think elements are going to be like poisons.
I see. So that doesn't count as a new mechanic.
Not so much.
Okay. Combo does combo count as a new mechanic?
Sort of a bit. I think like we had casters in season 2, and that gave you a new dice, a new stat type. Robin's going to flash everyone his midriff. So we had casters in season 2, so we had the spell dice, and we had what's the other thing? So you had magic levels and stuff like that. And then in season 3 we saw poisons, we saw combos, we saw hunter quarries. And they're all done a bit half-arsery. I would like to see them just focus on hunter quarry a bit more, and combo, and not do anything else new for Durgasm. But that's not how GW rolls, so they'll be adding something new in.
There'll be something new.
Yeah. Or maybe they'll add levels in. They have different levels of the Durgasm.
Haha.
It'd be like a 3D game of Star Trek 3D chess or whatever.
Yeah.
Robin's going to go for a walk for a while.
Yeah.
Tell you what, let's put Robin smiling on. There we go. We've got Robin smiling now whilst he goes off and wanders around the room. Nobody can see him apart from me on the Skype cam, and I can see him hobbling off around the room. Anyway, so yeah, I think we know Elements is coming. I think Elements is going to be a bit like Poison. He should drink more water. Wolfman Gaz, you're right, he should drink more water. I'm always telling him, drink more water, Robin. Have some water, drink some. He never does. I'm really bad at drinking water. I hate water. I fucking hate drinking water. It's like the most dull thing in the world. Like, can we not put some hops and barley in this shit and leave it for a few months in a barrel first? But yeah. Anyway, I think that the element stuff will be like poisons and will be sort of dull. I'm not 100% convinced by that one personally. And what else was asked in here? I'm all alone now. Robin's gone away. Jace Parker asked, would I like to see an element added that would cause the battlefield to change from round to round? Personally, I don't think I would mind that. I think that would be quite cool, but it won't happen, I think, because of the sort of more competitive element. It'll be too random, a bit like they did like with, what's the word I'm trying to think of, in what's the game that had the Banshees and the Condemners in? Dreadfane. That's it. Robin's back a bit. He's still limping though. Dreadfane.
Oh,
That
I
had
can sit down yet.
that had the random mechanic of the stuff happening around the board, and I like that, but it won't happen because of the competitive angle. It's too random for a competitive game, I feel. So I don't think they'll bother with that either.
No.
Weather chart in Blood Bowl war. I mean, a weather chart like that, it adds to the chaos of the game, and for that reason I'm all over it. But at the same time, again, I think it's too random, and therefore it goes against the competitive nature of the game for GW, and for that reason they won't put it in there.
Yeah, I think they've got to keep it a reasonably controlled environment, haven't they?
Yeah. Now in season 1, obviously we had the shade glass weapons. In season 2, we had the nullstone weapons. In season 3, we had the amber bone weapons. I wonder what we're going to see in season 4. What they're going to do with that one.
I don't know. Yeah, well, it could be anything, couldn't it?
Josh De Silva said, "Do we think GW will update champions? It would be nice if some fights from older warbands got reprints, such as Hacker and Basher." I don't think so. I don't think we'll see new warbands get reprinted at all. It was asked at one of the Grand Clashes we were at, and the designers of the game said pretty much at the time, no. Could we? Well, we could, but would we rather just spend that time concentrating on new warbands and new stuff? We're going to do new stuff, and I kind of see the reasoning why. One is there's no money to be made in revisiting old warbands. 2, a lot of the old warbands people can't buy anymore, so there's no point in them working on warbands that they can't sell. And 3, I think we all like new shiny stuff. Whilst we sort of like our old warbands, I don't think that the new ones will be a problem for anybody. I mean, look at Morgok versus Gerzak. They are awesome, I think. So, are you joining us again, Robin?
Don't put the camera on yet. Oh, you have. Hello. Hello. Oh, that hurt.
Somebody said Aether Quartz weapons. Yeah, there could be Aether Quartz weapons, which are kind of like the thing that the Moo Cow Elves have.
Oh yeah, is that what they? Is that, yeah,
I think they have Aether Quartz stuff, so it could be something to do with that, and maybe there'll be magical weapons. So maybe they're going to go back a bit more towards like the shade glass weapons, where they just do more damage with crits and stuff like that, possibly.
Dragon Bone. No, that's something else.
Michael Snap Moo Cow Elves. I don't like the new elves. They're fucking stupid as far as I'm concerned. They've got stupid cow heads on their bloody helmets and stuff, and they have giant 4-armed cow things running around, and I think they're fucking stupid looking. So I'm calling them cow elves.
I like it.
I'm not sitting on the fence there. I think I'm not calling them whatever their stupid real name is. As far as I'm concerned, they're cow elves.
Lumineth.
Lumineth, yeah. But like Durgasm, I'm not calling it fucking Diachasm either. Stupid.
What could the lizard men bring? Could they bring any weapons with them?
Poisons.
Okay.
Maybe poisons. What else could they bring? Magic, maybe. Although I don't think we're going to see any magic from the lizard men. I seem mad. I just think they look stupid.
They've not got the opposable thumbs to hold the cards, have they?
I'm not mad, Jack. I just don't like the models. I think they ruined High Elves. I like the old High Elves. I don't like this weird cow thing they've got going. But that's just me. I know a lot of people like them, so, you know. Each to their own. Magic and Brute Force. Yeah, maybe. Youngjin says Lizardmen with no magic. But, I mean, most of the magic from Lizardmen comes from the great big fat slam. And I don't think you're going to see one of those in don't have a cow, very good. I don't think you're going to see a slam. And you do get the little skink priest things, but I don't know. I think we'd see some. They have skink shamans, yeah, they do, but I don't think you see them so much. I don't know. I'm not convinced, but maybe. I think we're going to get an all skink warband.
You think?
I think so. Sorry, Anthony. Did I miss your comment?
I'm quite. No, he just said that. Can people see his messages? Maybe you can't.
I can. Sorry, yeah.
I'm actually was quite surprised how little magic there was in Beastgrave. I mean, there was almost no new spellcasters, were there? I was really quite surprised by that.
It was about 2. maybe 3 spellcasters, I think.
Yeah, but I mean the despoilers were with spellcasters like Godsworn Hunt the spellcasters.
Yeah, they had a spellcaster, but you bloody wouldn't ever.
No, no, exactly. Who else had one?
Is there 3? There's Fecula. There's
Oh yeah, Fecula. Fecula's about it for any regularity, isn't it? In G.
possibly.
It
Well,
was
Despoiler's Wild Hunt.
was the Wild Hunt where they was here. Yeah, yeah. And
Again,
how, I don't think
you
I've
wouldn't-
ever cast a spell with whatever he's called,
Yeah,
the guy with the horn. The guy with the horn is a
Tooty
spellcaster.
Boy,
Yeah,
Carthaean.
I don't think I've ever cast a spell with him.
I think you have. I think once or twice you have, but it was early
No,
on.
liar.
We're going to find the game now. I think it was one of our early Despoilers.
Well, if he did, it's recorded with somebody else, wasn't it?
Wouldn't even stoop that low.
Maybe at the beginning. Maybe at the beginning. But since any serious play came out,
Yeah,
they're
definitely.
all about the other guys mostly.
Jonathan Grant asks, what do we think will be the Molocroth Gone equivalent this season? If I'm brutally honest, I hope we don't get one. Because I don't like them. Got it. I don't like warbands that have one big super boss man at the
Yeah, I hope so too. I mean, I don't know enough about the lore to know what they might include. Colonel Hunt would be quite cool. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that is true. Carthaean's one of the only, or the Wild Hunter, one of the only warbands to have a wizard that's not the leader.
Okay.
Is that? But that just means there's one less objective card they can score.
Yeah, I'm going to say, and yes.
Master of many paths or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I think we are rapidly approaching the end of our evening.
Aha.
We are nearly at 11 o'clock. So any last minute questions anybody has really about the cards, about Diagasm? Very quickly, we're going to be releasing a video very soon about our next giveaway.
Oh yes.
Which will be the last 2 warbands, and Morgox and can't remember the name. Blake Coven.
Yeah, so the giveaway is when?
Well, we will do a video this week at some point, probably release it next weekend with the details of the giveaway. So keep an eye out for that one. And it will also be not just the warbands, but will also be the versatile terrain nameplates as well.
Yes.
Jay Sparks says, got to go play D&D. Was there a giveaway coming up? That will be the giveaway. We're going to release another video to give more details on that one, so do keep your eyes open for that one in the near future.
Yep, and I think this week we're playing Necromunda, aren't we? Which
we are.
Haven't done that for a while. We're all about the new warband, but we're going to play Necromunda this week. I'm bringing the Dilac.
I'll be Cordor.
Yeah, well, there'll be lots of scratching of heads because it's about 6 weeks since we last played and we won't remember how to do it.
Yeah, it's going to take us hours and hours and hours. Quick show of hands in the chat. We were talking about this a little earlier before we came online. I wonder whether Season 4 is going to be it. Who else thinks that Season 4 is going to be it for Underworld?
You can't start that at 2 minutes to 11. Take a whole hour's conversation to itself.
Maybe that'll be next week's chat. Is Underworld's it? Don't you dare.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
I just figured I'd terrify her before I go to bed.
Yeah.
Loads of people saying, oh, no. And then BJ's like, yeah, it could be.
I think it's tricky for them with it being the competitive game, and obviously I think large-scale competitive events are not going to be happening for the foreseeable future, are they?
Not anytime soon.
But I mean, I think other than that, I think it would have carried on going because I've just read Anthony's comment. I think I think it's a good game. I think it's got a growing fan base, even despite coronavirus. I think it's got a growing fan base. So I would be surprised, if it petered out. But
when you look at it at the bottom line, a lot of people have said it sells. And that's probably what's going to keep it going. But does it sell as well now as it did last year or the year before COVID shat all over it? Because COVID must have impacted a lot of things, like Underworlds, because it requires that element of sort of competition, which you just don't get.
No. Will you see a 40? Will we see a 40k spin-off though? I would like to see. I'd like to. Well, we talked about the Wondermunda, didn't we? With the Necromunda spin-off. It's crying out for a Necromunda spin-off. I
I
reckon.
think that will work really well. You've got all the corridors and stuff in Necromunda and stuff like that. You can make that hex based, and I reckon they could make. It could even be sort of like gang specific, so you could have the different gangs to start with, and then they could start to include other things like that.
Yeah. I'm actually slightly amazed there isn't some sort of 40k version, and I do wonder whether and this might point to it being the fourth final season, whether this is a forerunner, because I mean 40k tends to make them a lot more money than a fantasy side, and they've learned a lot. This is the first type of game they've played of this type, and it's got better and better. And I wonder whether they could do 40k on the Worlds, having done 4 or 5 seasons of this, and then think, right, we know what we need to know now. Let's make the 40k spin-off, because it would have a huge buy-in.
Yeah.
From a lot of people who don't play this, I think. But yeah, I could see that they could do it. Whether they do both, what they have running pattern now, I'm not sure, but I'm surprised they haven't done it.
Yeah, there's some comments. I mean, that just set the cat amongst the pigeons. That one, there was a whole ton of comments just came crashing down. Jason Neal said he didn't want to see a 40k spin-off. It would undoubtedly draw focus from Underworlds. But I mean, one of the suggestions is maybe this is just a precursor to a 40k version. They wrap up Underworlds and they start a 40k version because 40k might do better. Hard to tell. That's what I said. It would compete with Necromunda. I'm not sure it would. If it was a board game, actual like Underworld's boards, I don't think it would draw any attention away from Necromunda.
It's a very different game. It's a very different game.
Yeah, the cards and
if they had some crossover between the miniatures, then they would actually you get sort of double buy-in, I reckon.
Wolfman Gas says too much sit back and fire, but I don't think you'd have much ranged attack. It would be like Underworld. You would have a lot of it would be up close and personal, hitting people with hammers and stuff like that.
They'd have to work out how they were going to define the arena.
Yeah, everyone would have bolt guns.
They could easily define it so that the weapons weren't very usable, or the hex is a bigger scale, larger scale, whatever it is, or smaller scale. Then so actually, they would have a bolt gun, but that's only one hex. Could still work, if you see what I mean.
Just as Silver says, 40 Underworlds would just be 90% Space Marine warbands. I mean, if you put Necromunda though in the Necromunda setting.
40k spin-off wouldn't interest VJ. No, I mean it's not gonna. Not everybody who plays Underworlds is gonna want to play it. But I feel a little bit like I think it would sell more than Underworlds does. If they had
you could make it a bit like an actual arena, so it's less a city where two warbands come across each other. It's actually more an arena where people go into it with the idea that they're going to have a punch up, a bit like Gladiators, but in a 40k setting maybe.
Would we play 40k Underworld? I think we almost certainly would.
Because I love me some 40k, but I can't ever. I mean, Necromunda is probably the closest we'll get to being able to play it.
Yeah, and I think just from a channel sense, would make sense because I think it would be a bigger game than Beastgrave. So I think we would get more viewers.
Yeah, possibly.
so I think it would be good.
The Dark Elder one, Jonathan just pointed out, because you could be in, what was it called, Gomorrah?
Yeah,
whatever it's called, the Dark Elf city. Maybe people who've been caught and put in fighting pits in Gomorrah, that kind of thing. Yeah, I don't know. And that's not to say that we don't enjoy Underworlds. Absolutely love Underworlds. I just wonder if 40k would be even more of a draw. You never know. Maybe that'll be a whole episode discussion, like Jay said. Maybe we'll have to talk about that. Gomorrah, that's it. Gomorrah, thank you.
Gomorrah. Yeah, yeah. Well, perhaps we'll bring that up when we run out of things to talk about. We'll come back to it. This is entirely speculation. It
is entirely. But maybe that'll be a good chat to talk about. If there's nothing great to talk about next week, maybe that'll be it.
The biggest issue will be convincing existing Underworld players to buy into a whole new system after they've already spent a fortune. Well, that's true. Yeah, that is true. But I think some would, because some of people who move from one game to the next, don't they? Yeah. So I think I don't know how many they'd leave behind. I mean, you're gonna have to buy one set anyway, aren't you? So no, you're only losing effectively one season. because you lose one at the end of the season anyway, because that rotates out. I suppose you've got extra factions. I suppose so that's not quite completely true. What I just said there.
You don't lose all of it, but you do lose a chunk of it. But but it's a chunk that's kind of expected in these type of games.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it'd be interesting.
Underworld. Jonathan Grant says he would love Underworlds in the Realm of Chaos. I mean, Warcry. Anthony Titton has said it's kind of it, but I prefer the hex based, no rulers, that kind of thing. But I mean, maybe after Durgasm, maybe that'll be where we go next. Might be a Chaos Realm or something like that. Maybe,
but I think they don't like to be too specific, do they? So even Warcry, they brought out every other warband.
That's true. I mean,
having said there were going to be these 8 fighting over the Diachasm, suddenly everybody was there.
There was a billion of them. I mean,
Diachasm's busier than...
even the cities of Sigmar are going to be there. Yeah. How the fuck did you get here?
Exactly, yeah.
And I mean, I'll be honest, when we play Underworlds, I don't pay attention to what's on the boards at all. I just see hexes. It could literally be blocks of colour. Red ones for lethal hexes, black ones for blocked hexes, and grey ones for the regular hexes. I just do not pay attention to the pictures on the board, and very little attention to the storyline either.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think they'll do a whole 8 warbands of chaos, because I think that will turn off a certain number of people. Because I think part of the draw of Underworlds is that you can get a diverse range of playing experiences. Rather, you can almost have your own. You can have a different army every week, kind of thing. So if it's 8 chaos warbands, I think you'd lose that.
Yeah, I definitely think you would lose a group of people who aren't interested in chaos stuff, and there is a.
Yeah.
Jason says I might like War Chest. Maybe we should check out War Chest.
War Chest.
War Chest.
Yeah. What is War Chest? Jason always does this though. He always throws in a game.
Yeah, just suddenly, just gonna sprinkle out. Maybe
because the one thing we really need is more games we'd like to play.
Yeah, that is the problem.
I got very excited about the Lord of the Rings announcement this week. I'd love to play all those Saga of the Ring stuff.
They'd be awesome. Just the model count you'd need and the terrain.
I know. It's not going to happen. But I would just love it. Love it.
Right. Well, I think on that minor bombshell before, I think Crisis Protocol is definitely one that we are playing around with the idea of.
I have a box, and in my new post-school life, I've worked out a way to do a bit of painting each day.
Ooh. So
not very much. But so the Crisis Protocol box, I might get to it. Hero Quest is coming, unless somebody sends me a copy. I almost certainly won't be doing that.
What happens if somebody should happen to buy a copy and bring it to the garage?
Then I will play. I will play if somebody did that.
Robin does look a bit old for school, but that's just because his life's been very hard on him so far.
Yeah. I am a bit old for school.
Hero Quest is going to have no female or no chaos. So right, screw it, it's dead to me. Shit, already decided.
Is that knowledge or tough paper? Oh yeah, it's pretty mean in the bit of Surrey I live in.
I don't know if that's fact.
The other day, somebody had to go through a whole week without any quinoa.
My God, I say, his monocle dropped out in shock. Yeah, there's no female and no Chaos Warriors. What's the point? It's not Hero Quest. That's some joke of a game. Exactly. Yeah. If it's not got a broadsword, it's not even worth it. But there we go. I think that's time for us to call it tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you everybody for tuning in. Always love it when everybody comes along and listens to us waffle, and thank you for joining and lots of people commenting tonight, which is always nice to see as well.
Yeah. Thanks for the conversation, everybody. Always fun as ever, and we will see you next week.
Yes, definitely so. Maybe we'll be talking about 40k Underworlds. Maybe we're talking about the end of season 4. Who knows?
At some point, we're going to do a painting-based chat as well. So
yes.
We'll look out for that. That'll probably be 2 or 3 weeks' time.
Definitely, but not so much us painting and chatting. Just us talking about
just
painting.
Talking about painting, and I'd love to hear everybody's painting experiences. Everybody seems to be better than me, but I don't mind that.
I don't mind that because the end result, everyone can still enjoy it. So
yeah, absolutely.
And I kind of feel like if I painted as well as some of these people did, I wouldn't ever want to touch the models. So I'm okay with mine being a bit crap.
I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean.
So there we go, guys and girls. Thank you all for coming along, and we'll see you soon in the Beast Grave.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.